to shut out problems. You have to face them. You have to live the life you were born to live.
Climb every mountain, search high and low, follow every byway, every path you know.
But I've no head for heights, and I can't sleep at nights. It's been stark staring horror for me.
I no longer ran from repressed grief and old anger, medicating them away. So I had to learn to face my emotions and problems head on and to express and release them healthily. I did that with the help of the very best psychotherapist possible, unaffordable, but for my superpower, books, and the free counseling of the Addiction Recovery Center. It was a strange and fulfilling time, my shamanic journey, combining the fanciful and the physical, the mad and the mystical. I was traversing the realms and becoming a medical intuitive of my own body. I listened to it intently, open to its messages and the subtle shiftings that meant moving this way might be healing, or this food will be beneficial. I, who had been stuck in my head before, an intellectual overthinker, began learning the wisdom of the body. The instincts that had been drugged into silence along with my brain and emotions came back with renewed and powerful messages and energy. When I listened to my body's promptings, it didn't have to hit me over the head with symptoms to get my attention. Despite my medical madness, I remained, as a friend dubbed me, the most grounded space cadet I know. I ate well, hydrated, exercised, and sought counseling. Yet one foot was always in both realms, earth and sky, this world and the next. I walked a spiritual tightrope. Weekly, strength, energy, clarity increased. I could now stand up and walk every day. I'd carried heavy groceries home and done my own shopping. What else that seemed normal to everyone else, but was staggeringly new to someone formerly housebound and bedridden for 20 years, could I accomplish? I have dozens, maybe hundreds of photos of English Bay in all seasons, all weathers. She's beautiful, my ocean, whether blue, gray, or green. But all the pictures were captured from inside my apartment, and in a way, so was I, like a princess in a tower, disabled by fibromyalgia, mostly housebound and often bedridden for 20 years. I still managed to stagger across the street to Nelson Park 3 times a week to exercise, pushing myself out the door no matter how bad I felt, walking 3 times around the park, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. Fibro is like that. I couldn't go much further often, as I never knew when the weakness would strike and needed to be close to the condo when I turned into a cranky and exhausted toddler with no one to pick her up and take her home. It's one of the great tragedies of adulthood. Bad as those limits were, I could still get around on a good day until, get this, a yoga injury. I'll never forget the day it happened. I'd been doing a posture staggeringly wrong in a yoga class and had been doing so for 8 long weeks. The teacher, a doctor, never once checked our poses. I knew the instant it happened. My sacroiliac joint slipped and my pelvic girdle gave up the ghost. Medically, I would describe it as sproing, yoing, yoing, yoing. Then the excruciating pain hit. I'd had lots of pain with fibro and 13 car accidents. This was worse than all of them. I never took pain meds during the day and only rarely at night, but suddenly I wanted handfuls of them with a nice morphine chaser. Agony. Because of this hip injury causing a malaligned pelvis, stairs and hills became taboo for 20 years, and my specialist advised against them. When well enough to go out, I'd been trapped in 4 square, flat city blocks, unable to go past them unless I took transit or drove. Sunset Beach was out of the question, which is with its incredibly steep hill, only 10 blocks away, and it might as well have been on the moon. Yet the pain had decreased so much since I got off the pills. I thought, screw it, ignore the specialist, let's try a hill. I began to ease myself down small ones, tentatively at first, as the retributive pain when I attempted them in the past had been brutal. I first tried gingerly going down a quarter of a baby hill and back up. And I did that for 2 weeks to no worse pain. Then I tried a half a hill. Then finally I did a whole hill. Bit by bit, I conquered almost the whole West End. All that was left was the steepest hill of all coming up from Sunset Beach, and it was a big one. I left that challenge for the last. The day I was first able to visit Sunset Beach felt like a miracle. My ocean, more lovely for all my absence. I nearly wept. I began to photograph her beauties up close instead of confined to my tower. But I always return via the easiest hills, until I determined to confront my personal Everest, Thurlow St, all the way from the beach to my home at the top of a giant hill. Could I do it? After 20 years, could I tackle the Matterhorn of the West End? This was going to be the day I made my whole community mine again. I was nervous as hell, but determined to vault over that final barrier. After a lovely, relaxing walk on the beach, I turned my back on the sparkling waters and confronted my adversary. Holy jeez, Thurlow St is steep. I started up the steep grade, then felt a huge twinge of panic. It had been decades since I last went up this hill. Much smaller ones had given me agonizing pain for days in the past, causing insomnia as I tried to find a position that didn't hurt, a place that didn't throb. When the pain was neck to toes, I used to wish I could sleep standing on my head because it was often the only place that didn't hurt. How did on earth did I think I could do this? Then I realized I was fighting two battles, one with the hill and the other with the fear that had no place in my new life. Not now, not after all the months I spent building my strength slowly and gradually. I took a deep breath and continued. Soon I was puffing like a steam engine, but the hips were doing fine. Like Margaret Atwood in the book of the same name, I muttered, good bones, you can do it. As I climbed higher and higher, block by block, I swear I heard the theme song from Rocky in my head. And as I reached the last few steps of my personal summit, I began to dance with my arms outstretched as I scaled the peak. I had done it. No instant agony, not even 1 ounce of added pain. Today, I conquered the whole West End. Tomorrow, the world. Screw Edmund Hillary. This was my personal Everest, my Matterhorn. I'd made it up the steepest hill that formerly would have had me writhing in pain for days before I had even the unfit young longing for a Sherpa. All this by getting off the medication that harmed instead of healing. There were many more metaphorical mountains to climb, emotional as well as physical, during benzodiazepine withdrawal. But that day, I made the whole West End mine again. Next, the rest of Vancouver. After that, I conquered the world.